Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special one-on-one YouTube interview. I'm here with the Honorable Mary Gay Scanlon, who's represented Pennsylvania's 5th Congressional District since 2019, and briefly the 7th as well. And most recently, I was really eager to talk to her, having seen her soldier through a fairly abysmal, I thought, hearing. I'm not going to try to hide it because I'm already on record. The oversight hearing of the House Judiciary Committee for the Attorney General a few days ago. First, let me say thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Where do I start? I guess maybe kind of what's it like. It felt to me like a true sort of circus, farcical atmosphere where half the all the questions by the majority were not just tendentious, not just going at things that, of course, the Attorney General wouldn't know, but so impolite, so like, where are your manners kind of thing. Have I not been tuning in enough? Would you say this was, even for this course, a new low, or is it pretty much just what you expected from your colleagues on the other side?
Well, I wish I could say that it wasn't what we expected. It certainly was what we expected. I think in your description, you left out fact-free.
Yes, very good point. Explain, please.
Well, I mean, it started out with the chairman's opening statement, Jim Jordan's opening statement, in which he was attacking the work that's been done by special counsel with respect to the January 6th indictments, et cetera. And he described Donald Trump's conduct with respect to the documents that he willfully hoarded and concealed and refused to turn over, allegedly, said that he'd done everything that had been asked of him and hadn't done anything wrong, and went on and on about this. This was the day after information came out that the man's secretary has been testifying that she was told to conceal things. So just, it's like this split screen of reality versus whatever gets made up. It was really disturbing.
Yeah, the fix is in, is the way he put it. So, we're in what I think should be a valuable democratic exercise for Trump supporters to have some kind of reckoning of just the facts of the conduct. And Jordan absolutely seemed to me to make it his political mission to somehow, beat back the facts. We've seen, this was sort of hearkening back to previous hearings in the Trump era. Let me this is a sort of simple question, but what was that hearing supposed to be? And what kinds of questions could or should the committee have been posing of the Attorney General? And this his first, I think, visit there in a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, you bring up something that I was thinking about as we had the hearing. Unfortunately, I have never had the pleasure of serving when we're not in a Trump era. So this was the third time I've seen an attorney general or acting attorney general come before the Judiciary Committee. The first two were Trump appointees, Matt Whitaker and then Bill Barr. So I've only ever been treated to a hyper politicized kind of environment here. We did try to pivot. We did try to do some genuine oversight. People had different questions on the Democratic side about particular issues of interest to them or their constituents. And I asked some questions about the work that the department has been doing under this administration to protect voting rights. Because when we had Matt Whitaker in, he didn't know anything about it. He couldn't tell me how many cases they had. When we had Bill Barr in, he tried to promote this false narrative that mail-in ballots are inherently suspect or subject to fraud, which of course they are not. So, to be able to talk with someone who actually is doing something with respect to voting rights and was able to explain what that is and provide us with data, that's what oversight hearings are about. But just the whole thing, you said, is this what we've been seeing? Yes, it is, because we also had Secretary Mayorkas in a few weeks ago. And, Mr. Jordan and the others talk about the weaponization of our government. They have weaponized the Judiciary Committee to really push these grotesquely false narratives, to attack some pretty remarkable civil servants who are doing their jobs, and to threaten them with impeachment and to talk about them being, bad people and just all kinds of crazy stuff. I think they threatened both of them with perjury charges, and it's really outrageous. One of my colleagues calls it the treadmill of outrage, just throwing things out all the time that have nothing to do with the truth and are really undermining our democracy, respect for the institutions and the actual work that people are doing.
I just got to say, I was proud to be from Pennsylvania when you actually, in a calm way, were pointing some of those things out. It does just seem objective. And then I was struck. Yes, I worked for Merrick Garland and can personally attest to his career of integrity, but nobody really thinks differently. And to hear Jordan say the fix is in, or to hear others just sort of browbeat him, not listen to the answer, turning to it politically, what is their game, would you say? It's obviously got nothing to do with oversight. It's obviously got nothing to do with any legitimate inquiry of Garland or the work of the department. What are they about in these farcical performances?
It seems clear that Jordan and definitely a hardcore in the Republican Party in the House have hitched themselves to the Trump train so tightly and participated in his falsehoods, including around January 6th, because, Trump was ready to let the congressman take care of it. And many of them.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point, right? Just with Jeff Clark, just lie a little bit to Georgia, and my members in Congress will take it from there. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and several of them had been attending meetings in the White House to plot out how they were going to disrupt January 6th. So I think we've got a hardcore of people here, the ones who've requested pardons allegedly, who have tied themselves to the Trump train, and the only way they know they can stay out of trouble is if they defend him, if they get him back into office, if he can issue those pardons. But in order to do that, they're ready to bring down the whole democracy. They are promoting these outrageous lies. They have forgotten, to stand up and be leaders in their own right, to push back against these lies about democracy, particularly in Pennsylvania. Do take it particularly personally here, because we know our elections are secure here, but it's been a talking point for them, another fact-free talking point suggesting that there's been a problem with elections here. So, it just feels like it's about their personal political power, staying in power, and staying out of jail, quite frankly, for some of them.
Yeah, maybe so. And on to your point, the Pennsylvania governor has just made a pretty important step forward for to increase the franchise. Maybe that'll be duplicated elsewhere. So that's all true. And then there is the tone of it that they were, you wonder, like, whose mother didn't wash their mouth out when they were in third grade. They're just such punks about their approach to cabinet officers or people with real sort of eminent public service. But there were aspects that made me feel like a total naive for something, just breathtaking in their shabbiness toward a public servant like Garland, from whatever standpoint you're on. That it felt to me like that's not how it used to be. I could be totally wrong, of course. And as you point out, you've come of age in Congress at exactly the time when this has become the sort of norm. But it's not simply that. It's felt to me like the parties were talking past each other, but the fact-free aspect, as you say, was conjoined with such, nasty, punky kind of attempts to slap the attorney general around. What's it like I wonder for the caucus. So
Right.
You knew it was coming, you say. Was there any effort? It's hard to know what is to be done or attempted here. Any effort to, divide up topics or to say, okay, everyone make sure to keep your cool, or some kind of strategy in the presence of what you knew would be a really kind of nasty and fact-free attack, or did everyone just go it alone, as it were?
Well, I think you raised two things. One is the general tenor of conversation in Congress,
Yeah.
right? And I do think we can peg much of this to the coarsening of public discourse that we've seen under Trump, and we're seeing it get worse in Congress. I also sit on the Rules Committee, and that is the committee where members come in and testify about the bills that are moving to the floor next. And there have been some kind of shocking displays of what people have said, just blatant disrespect to very senior members of Congress who've done yeoman's work and don't deserve that kind of sass would be a kind way of putting it, but rudeness.
Yeah.
So, when it's even getting into the Rules Committee, which is, one of the places that's always been a bit more above the fray, it's been kind of shocking. And you're seeing it play out in a lot of different places. With respect to the judiciary hearings, there wasn't explicit coordination between people, I think, but going into this term, seeing what we've been up against, and I think the caucus as a whole, someone has to be a grown-up in the room. And I think that's what we're setting out to do every day. Be the grown-up in the room, try to, push back on the absolute falsehoods without buying into them. And that is the difficult decision every day. And then trying to reframe things and say, no, here is our purpose. And, let's try to look at some of the things we should actually be doing. So that was what I tried to do with my questions, looking at the fact that we knew there were going to be attacks. Merrick Garland came in there saying, I'm not the president's lawyer and I'm not Congress's prosecutor. And I thought that was important to highlight and to give him an opportunity to talk about what was actually being done with this hearing. But then to say, okay, so we've rebutted what, the crazy stuff that's going on now. Let's talk about some of the things that you're actually supposed to be doing and you are doing. And so then we talked about the voting rights stuff. So it is, hard every day. You've got to keep pushing back on this stuff that's really damaging to our country, but also try to keep getting the work done.
Yeah. And I just want to say that I thought you were particularly effective here. And this isn't a normal word of praise. And yet I take this lawyerly in being in maintaining calm and being a voice of reason, but advancing the ball. And it's my best guess. Some of it's sort of imponderable, but that the people tuning in from either side, even the most partisans, probably tune out most of it, but then there's opportunity for little gains and little points that, really do hopefully advance the ball. Let me just ask, so I'm at the Texas Tribune Festival, and I think there's a broad kind of theme here about, loosely speaking, you could say, is there Trumpism after Trump? I just wonder what your sense is, because the House is a good example. 8 of the 10 members who voted for impeachment are now gone. The likes of Jim Jordan don't really seem motivated by the normal electoral politics. Do you think that some continued election losses, and let's assume beginning with Trump himself, will remedy this rancor and kind of not just partisanship, but useless and impolite partisanship? Or do you see it as even if Trump were off the scene, something that's the die is now just cast with your colleagues on the other side of the aisle?
It feels as though this is where the American people have to get involved and step up and punish electorally people who are not there to be serious, who are there to just stir up trouble and get clicks and that kind of thing. And certainly that's a lot of what I hear from constituents, that they're genuinely afraid for our democracy. They're afraid for what all of this infighting and everything means. Does it keep me up sometimes? Yeah, because it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube. But, we also know there have been very fractious times in our country's history before. We haven't yet had a caning in the House, but, it could come. But that's one of the reasons, just trying to maintain tone and progress and that kind of thing. You were talking about the impact of that hearing. I went out for a run earlier this morning and ran into someone who cuts the lawn at the Methodist church nearby. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Hey, you did a great job. You were very sensible in that hearing." And he said, "But has Jim Jordan really ignored a congressional subpoena for 500 plus days?" Right. So, pushing back on the facts, that was Eric Swalwell's line of questioning, pointing out the fact that there's a gross amount of hypocrisy here. That catches attention. But I think people really do feel the need to, no, you're not crazy. They're crazy. You're absolutely right. We should be teaching our children not to be bullies and to do unto others and be good to your communities and vote. So I think just restating that when so many people seem willing to deny, the things we need to do as a civil society is important.
And even fighting at the margins. I just want to say, Congresswoman Scanlon, you're not just, in my view, fighting the good fight, but doing it really,
I appreciate that.
in an exemplary fashion. So, thank you, and I'm proud to be from Pennsylvania. When I saw you, your turn at the hearing. Hope to talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Harry.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.